I imagine I could be architect very early. I think I was 15. I was living in a small city at the north of Paris, and I had the opportunity to meet young architects from Paris. They came for a project and visited my parents. So I followed them everywhere and listening what they were saying. I've been very, very seduced by the way they were working. So this world of architecture, of interior design, started very early in my mind. I am Jean-Michel Wilmotte, architect, and this is Architect Series. Then immediately I went to Belgium university for architecture. And I start to understand that architecture was a real problem because you have ideas and you realize them 3, 4, 5 years after. So very quickly I say, I would like to do interior design, because interior design, you can make the project and realize it the week after. One of my favorite elements was to design furniture. I like to design furniture. For me, it was architecture, but at a small scale. But very quickly, a lot of people asked me to do architecture. And I started to become very much interested by architecture. I opened my first office in 1975. And at that time, most of the projects were interior design. So we start this office in Paris, and at the same time, I opened this small office in Tokyo. Very quickly, the company grew, but at the same time, we were doing design, interior design, and architecture, the three elements. And we have been very lucky because we get very big projects very quickly.
So the office is broadcasted internationally through several offices, and Milan is one of them. This office is a space where different encounters are possible. On one side, it is a very crucial place because it represents a strategic relationship that we have been built through years with all the local manufacturers in Italy, but it also represents, and I would say that's probably a paramount side of this decision to open in Italy. It also represents a very strong relationship that Jean-Michel Wilmotte has with Italy, to the point that he often says that he knows Italy better than Italians, and I bet it's true.
So this doppio V, I call it doppio V, I tell you, because it was an exhibition in Venice, and the granito blocks were made in Verona. So I like the idea to do doppio V because also it's a piece of my name also. We have a foundation in Venice, and we present an exhibition in this foundation every 2 years. And 2 years ago, I think it was time to show a specific collection of furniture. We decided to use 3 materials, a sort of granito made of piece of calacata. Then we use natural glass and steel. I'm very happy because I met Zanon, who was the guy doing all the details, metallic details for Carlo Scarpa. He understands so much the details and he makes so good, so nice proposal. The way to cut the steel, the way to mix and to screw the steel together, and so it was fantastic. In our work, we are obliged to be aware of all the new materials, new vision, everything, and this is the key for our development. Here we create a sort of laboratoire, we call laboratoire, labo, to take together all those new initiatives for construction. Here the idea is to present the spirit of our work. So this is a mix of now the project we are doing, and I like to break the scale between small elements, big ones, between the tower 200 meters high and the small watch like this. Here you can see the model room. All the projects are done in model here. We start from here to develop the first step, and we work with the client, we work with the designers, and we change the model all the time. When we do a project, we explain to the client the project will be done with this structure. This is the floor and the beams. So we give to the client, the main elements. This was the ArcelorMittal project, and I tell the client, 70% of your project will be done with these elements that you are manufacture yourself,
The project of ArcelorMittal we did is a result of a competition which was launched in 2017. That was a very interesting challenge because that size of building we were not used to design in steel. So we had to reimagine and reshuffle all our tools anew, which is sometimes good because it gives a fresh look and a new approach to things.
The main idea was all what we can do is steel, outside and inside the building. So we did this metallic grid, is that what we call exoskeleton.
I would go down to two main components. The one is the prefabrication of steel, and the other one is the capacity of long span, open space structures without any columns. At the same time, if you go into life cycle analysis, we kept the approach where you can actually unbuild the building again like you built it. So complete cycle in steel. The steel itself, what they use is a low carbon steel, which they manufacture in Luxembourg. ArcelorMittal, so it's their own product. It's a virtuous product which is low in carbon because it's for a big part it's a recycled material.
The steel is outside on the facade, but get inside the project, get inside the auditorium, get a little bit everywhere. And we have a piece of art, which is a big bridge in the garden, in the middle in the atrium. We connect a different part of the building.
It's a 16-story building going up to 80 meters high. We sort of pulled it around in a big atrium, which is also, in terms of climate, very interesting because it gives an intermediate space for the offices which go to the interior. So we have a compactness, we have a natural ventilation. The construction method we propose is to have it as an exoskeleton, actually, the steel structure. So you can see it from the outside. As we said, it's once wanted to be a showcase for steel construction in the beginning of the 21st century.
The metal is really important in this project. We put more metal to do this project than they use to do the Eiffel Tower. It's a very solid project.
The Centre Pompidou, well known for its bold architecture and also remarkable collections of modern and contemporary art, has been developing satellite entities both in France and internationally.
The main idea is to try to do our best and transform a shopping center in the Centre Pompidou, which is not so easy. First of all, the concept was to have a very strong skin. This skin should be light and should become a signal at night.
We imagined this tower being kind of in a morning cloud, in a mist, and therefore, in contrast to its verticality, we developed a more horizontal building over the 150 meters of the site. We decided to clad the existing part with fluted glass, translucent glass, opposite to the reflective golden glass. So it's an acid-etched surface, very matte, that is backlit at night and becomes kind of a cultural lighthouse that is visible across the Han River. It's kind of a double-skin facade with those undulating elements that are pieces of curved tempered glass, 6 meters high by 1.2 meters wide. So we developed many combinations of glass to find the right depths to this material. This kind of double skin facade also acts as a shield for heat load. So it makes the existing envelope more efficient in terms of insulation.
We have a great space, really. So we can have double high rooms for presentation, for piece of art. We will have local and permanent collection and also temporary collection coming from the collection of Centre Pompidou.
On changé en une échelle beaucoup plus pavillonnaire, et ça c'est la forêt, très très profonde.
Oui. Ce que j'aimais bien, c'était il y avait presque un mouvement. Hein?
Oui.
Et
In 2018, we were called to participate to a competition in this city, which is Cap d'Agde, not far from Montpellier. And together with Jean-Michel Wilmotte, we decided to go for a very symbolic and iconic shape. 3 circular buildings are facing a right and left this major axis, that's a promenade that in 400 meters connects the site to the harbor. The program, it is a mixture of different typologies of housing for people that are permanently living there and then tourists, but also senior users. And then there is a hotel, and then of course retail and commercial areas. So those shapes are driven by the will to pursuing simplicity and also long-term projection of the building and the future. And so the decision was made to make sure that every apartment, from the smallest to the more luxurious one, had an external space. But the balcony wasn't simply an extension of the house, was also marking as a formal choice the building. When we started to think about the materials, naturally, we felt that concrete was the best choice. And not only because concrete has a long history in terms of the plastic opportunity that has given to architects through histories, but also because through very controlled studies of the shapes, we could have prototypes that were allowing us to perfectly rebuild the shapes of circular balconies in all the parts of the building. We are also very happy that through all the difficulties that this site construction faced, when it was delivered, it encountered great success from people.
The project of the Grand Palais was actually born out of necessity in a way. The original Grand Palais was to be closed for 5 years. They told themselves, okay, we close the original Grand Palais until the Olympic Games of 2024. We replace it by a provisional one, and we use the two in 2024 to hold events. That was the origin of the project.
It was a competition, and the first goal was to have 11,000 square meters within any pillar. Completely free space. Then it was temporary, and then adapted to all different projects. It could be painting, it could be fashion presentation, horse race, everything inside. You know, it was quite interesting to develop a space which could be adapted to every event. You know.
We were looking for renewable materials, so wood came into place very quickly. Wood has actually one very specific capacity in proportion to its weight and to its potential of taking compression better than concrete or steel.
We decided to use wood because with a round structure of wood, we don't need pillar in the middle.
We had to have a free space on that site, so we had the limits, and then came naturally a vault. A vault is also a very efficient form of a building because it's only under compression. If you look at the project now, you know, design, it has some reflection with the Eiffel Tower and the vaults in there and so on. And maybe it came from there, maybe it came the other way, but it was a sort of the whole amalgam of ideas which came around, which made what it is.
So now they use this for 4.5 years. They deconstruct it, and now we plan to put it in Normandy. They have a project to rebuild the D-Day inside. American people want to explain what happened the D-Day in France.
The overall vision of the Saint-Germain campus is basically the idea of the club to reunite all those sporting activities. The one constraint about this big site was actually that it was a difference of level of 30 meters from one side to the other. We had to reimagine completely the landscaping, the topography, the access to the site, and so on. We redid the topography completely. We built 3 terraces so we can integrate the football pitches. We put the professional team on the top as a sort of aspiration of, you know, that is where I want to go. We did not only sort of imagine all the functional activities of a training center, which is to install 16 pitches, to install all the medical and sporting facilities they need, and the academy and the professional team. We thought it was also very important to create a surrounding for their well-being, actually, because sporting is not only about being physically fit, but it's also being mentally strong. And that landscaping was created basically out of a two-way approach. Because the one is the landscaping you create inside the new training center, which is a very private place. But at the same time, we didn't want to create a compound, like from the exterior that you only see a fence and behind is the football world in a way. So we were looking at the landscaping we created two ways, from the outside and from the inside. Inside in terms of quality of living, and outside in terms of integrating it into the overall landscape. Today even, they have a fully functioning vegetable garden of 2 hectares of organic food, which they eat themselves in a way, so they're in a way self-sufficient. Everywhere you are on that site, you're actually surrounded by landscaping in a way.
Artificial intelligence, I think this is the key of our century. For us, AI is not the answer. It's the basic, the part of our design. Everything is in the prompt. If you give the good information, details, and sophisticated elements, you could have a fantastic answer. So this is what we are starting to do now in the company. This laboratory is, first of all, a sort of research center. This is a place where we must develop new concepts with the IA, and the first time that we mix contemporary art with IA. We can prompt with music, we can prompt with painting, kinetic art. This is the first time that we are really mixing both art and architecture. I don't like the idea to take the result from IA. I want to start from the result of IA. So the work starts when the IA gives us the answer, and we follow and prompt again. In this area, we connect our computer with a model maker. We have different 3D print, but we have also this robot. This robot is going to make models, but differently, taking off material instead of added materials. So we take art, architecture, we prompt, and we bring the project, and we start to do models, and we work on the models. So this is completely new. We need the people to prompt. It must be architects, sure, but it be artists, it will be philosophers, it will be people who know the music, people with a very large mind, For example, we are working on different projects where we need an internal space. So we prompt Shilida work, and look what happened.
So we used some images and some prompts to make up those spaces like a concept.
With the prompt we get that, but it was too busy, we didn't like it. So we changed it.
We finished with that image and we got it inside a project.
It's the museum, Silk Road Museum.
In January 2024, we were contacted by the Uzbekistan government, the ACDF, in coordination with UNESCO, to develop a strategy for the conservation and enhancement of the historic center of Bukhara. Our strategy was really twofold. The first was to come up with solutions of how to maintain the integrity and the authenticity of the historical center. We were asked to work on a very particular parcel, which is about 32.6 hectares. The idea about this space was to create a very large park. So in designing this project, we really asked ourselves the question of how can we design first the park, the ground plan, and secondly, how can we design the buildings? How can we integrate the buildings into this area which is so sensitive? We really had to come up with a type of architecture which was, which would be contextual, which would fit in, if you will, and which would respect the heritage of the site.
And it's important, I think, to have that discussion not just about one project, but to find a continuity and a coherence between the different projects we are looking at.
So the first thing we did is, after analyzing the urban plan, we decided to kind of just simply bring in the streets, the trace of the streets and the buildings into the site, which created kind of orthogonal grid along the site. Then we decided how can we bring in the part which is medieval, and we continued all these winding streets into the park, so there's a real overlaying of these two elements, and that was really the idea that generated the overall design. Once we started to work with that, we decided to make a center point to the park, a very large water basin. One of the images of the historical center of Bukhara is these water basins which we can find throughout the city, which are associated with the public places. Very important in the history and culture of the area. So there's a very large basin in the center of the park, and around that we started to place the buildings. Probably the most difficult to integrate was the conference center. It's a conference cultural center which is approximately 125 meters squared, so it's quite an important building. We also placed a 300-room hotel. There's a very large commercial center, which is about 10,000 square meters. And there's a public library and a kind of an event building.
The overall idea behind the building of the new headquarters for West Africa, for the United Nations, was actually a new strategy in urbanism in a way, because Dakar is a peninsula and it's congested. The building of the United Nations and what is happening around this site is actually a new town which is outside Dakar.
The idea was to bring together 34 agencies of UN nations spread in all Dakar in a single and iconic building. The UN House needs to be a more efficient building, support better coordination between the agencies, a strong symbol for the UN in Senegal.
So when the office was called, Jean-Michel Wilmotte and together with Emily, there was really a strong brainstorming in order to identify what could be the correct shape and form in order to create not only a building, but a landmark that could really communicate a sense of openness and transparency in the sense of values.
Architecturally, we designed a large circular building with 7 open wings around a central core. This layout creates a central area for official spaces, a ring of common spaces, and the open wings for each agency that give at each agency its identity while staying connected.
For the future, I think architecture should take care of all buildings, renovating, first of all, instead of destroying buildings and then building new ones. There is always a second use in a building. And this is really important to consider each building before demolishing it. Second part, also we can break them, but conserve the materials, compact them and so, and create new finishing, new materials for another project. think we need some iconic buildings, because iconic buildings is the witness of a civilization, the witness of a country, you know. Every country will want to have its signal. I think I have a big hope for the future and architecture, because they work for everybody in different scale, different field, and also what we are creating, all the new materials, all the new finishing we are creating will create the world of tomorrow.